Okay, as I mentioned, now I'm going to be, and we've gone over through the setup wizard if you've been following my tutorials, my user's guides for the Tripmate Titan, the HooToo Tripmate Titan. Now I'm going to go through some settings that I like to use. Since I've done the setup wizard already, this is my current password. It won't stay there for long, at least until after I'm done with tutorials. I'll try to at least keep some continuity. I'm going to go directly to the settings. If I click on storage, as I mentioned before, I've actually added a USB disk. One thing you want to do is, as I mentioned, you don't want to just turn it on and off, or you just don't want to just completely remove one while it's plugged in. Oh, on a side note, when I was charging this, and if you look through the user's manual, or if you're just following along with me to avoid reading the user's manual, it recommends not charging and discharging at the same time. That I would also say or state that it includes having the USB plugged in, because that top part where the connectors go becomes very, very warm. So, and it, according to the user's manual, it will shorten the life of the device. And having done that the other day, I tend to believe it. So, user's manual, I'm not going to do guest, but I'll just click here to show you the guest mode. You can add currently it is enabled. Why is this on? Guest should be off. So first thing, disable guest. Don't want guest. And hopefully that doesn't affect us negatively, but if it does, I'll come back and change it. So for now, guest is tentatively guest. So this is the name, that the host name of it. That's fine. I don't have to change it. I'll leave that as it is. So I'll just go back to my Wi-Fi and LAN. So here's where this is changed, where we're going to go a little off from what the, slightly off from what the setup wizard would do. Region, United States, channel, audio. Like I mentioned previously, that there are very specific channels that these devices, the Wi-Fi devices, like to attach themselves when they do auto. There's about 3 of them. Let me pull up my notes really quick. So it's channel 1, channel 6, and channel, was it 11? Channel 1, 6, and 11, yes. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to put it to channel 3. And as I mentioned, auto's fine. You don't have to change it to channel 3, but like I mentioned, these are my custom settings, what I want to, how I typically put my channels on channel 3 and channel 9 to kind of avoid that overlap. Almost essentially put it between the two, use the 2 empty spaces ish of the 3 major channels of 1, 6, and 11. So it just to avoid any additional interference. This is just more of kind of something I want to do. I actually have no, I can't back that up by any electrical engineering or any radio signal science, but I would say that just based on the fact that there aren't 15 devices on the same channel, I think the range would actually go further. So the less devices that are on that channel and the less crowded ones, you will probably get further range, but that is not based on anything. Maybe at some point I'll run a test on that, but for now, let's just go with, I like the number 3. So that was the Wi-Fi and LAN, the DHCP server. Here, the DNS. This is fine since I'm not using this device. However, what I'm going to do here is, let me grab, actually here, whoops. What I'm going to do is actually input the number for and this is what's called the OpenDNS servers. And they have a free service that you can point your DNS request, domain name servers. And let me just get that up really quick. And while I'm waiting for my outside window to load, I can describe that it's something. So if you want to avoid using your local ISP or Google's or someone else's, if you're at a hotel or whatever, if you're traveling with this, if you want to avoid using their, I wouldn't say being tracked, but the requests sent to them, to their DNS, which they can track based on the IP you connect from. They can see what requests you're making for what websites, because when you make a request for a name, somehow you have to resolve that name to a IP address, which is what DNS, the dynamic name service. Oh, sorry, the domain name system. Wow, I'm just totally tongue-tied right now. And let me get to the IP addresses. So there are 2 IP addresses, and they are 208.67. And they're nearly identical. I just want to use the order they list them, and I'll actually just put that in the notes for this tutorial. And it's 222 and 222. The second one is identical except for the 2 last sections, which is 220.220. And I will save that. Excuse me. So here, as it saves the settings, the next thing I'm going to do is go into the client list, and I should see this computer here, which is technically this machine. This is my full machine, my desktop. This is the virtual environment machine. So if I go in here and do an ifconfig, it will tell me 10.10.10.2, which is, I mentioned this machine. This is the name of my laptop, which does which is hosting the virtual environment here. And let's go back. So I've added the IP addresses, the IP names, the IP addresses for OpenDNS. And here, let's go and do the DLNA. So as I mentioned, DLNA is a media streaming protocol that, it's not a median, let me get the acronym real quick because it will make a little more sense. It's a working group digital, so it's DLNA stands for Digital Living Network Alliance. Similar to Wi-Fi, there's the standards A, B, G, N, AC. That is the Wi-Fi Alliance. This is a very similar approach to that. They create a standard, they create if you want to connect and discuss and discuss in terms of devices, how they connect and talk to each other, you adhere to their standard that they publish, and then you can and at some point you can then become a DLNA certified device. So that's with that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten this name by a lot because I don't want to actually have to fight to figure that out. And Tripmate Titan is perfect. It doesn't have to have hyphens. It's awesome like that. So here is where we have these directories. So let me just save that, and I'll come back here to this DLNA directory. Here's where we define where we're going to share. So let me remove that one. Let me add a directory. Inside my volume, I have, so this share is actually created by the Titan once you connect to it. So with the DLNA, and it creates these folders for you. So I don't actually want to use them. I have a music directory where I have these versions of CDs that I actually own copies of. So this is not something I quote unquote found. These are all actual CDs that I own. And if I click OK, I actually want to click on this so I get the check mark in front of the directory. I know it's a little weird and it's not very intuitive, which is unfortunate, but I actually want this check mark to appear because that's the directory I want to share, and click OK. And if I go back and add, I can add more. So The reason to add more is if you have, as I showed, my setup has a USB dongle, USB hub, and I could add multiple thumb drives. Currently I have the music thumb drive, but also if I wanted to add a thumb drive for, say, movies that I've backed up, or TV shows, or podcasts, video podcasts, anything like that, you can continue to keep adding other folders for other directories, and the DLNA service will broadcast or advertise that on, so that when you want to go through and search for them, it's different folders for them. So you can have a full, if you have a thumb drive, I think currently I think the biggest thumb drive I have is 64 gigs, which is the size of this one here. I have multiple 64 gig ones, but as they get bigger, you could just keep adding more. And make sure I save that. And even if I did, it never hurts to save it again. And let's go back. Now that I have that DLNA service, actually, let's make sure, yeah, it's on. I just wanted to double check that. We go back to my system settings and time settings here. I said I wasn't going to change that, but I do want to at least have it reflect my time zone. And daylight savings time, I'll leave that off. Let that save. And done. So for now, this is the settings that I want in terms of the password and other devices. So what I'm going to do here in a bit, or for the next tutorial or the next guide, is I'm going to show how I access the music folder from my, I have an older Samsung phone, a S2, that essentially I just use as a, quote unquote, portable music device, or for those of you that are Apple users, a generic iPod. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this video here, and then on the next one show how, with the Titan running, how I access those media files from a DLNA client or a second device. So I'll show the app that you can download from Tripmate Titan, but also I'll show a different way using a project called Kodai. All right, thanks for watching. Have a good one.